Hi everyone, my name is Andy, so a UCT medical student. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching one of my videos once again. And if you are here for the second time or the third time but you still haven't subscribed, please do the right thing and subscribe. And if you are new here, welcome. I hope you do stay and become a part of my journey as I become Dr. Andy. So on this channel, I post my life as a medical student through medical school vlogs, and I also share important information about the MPCHB degree, and I also do study tips. So if you are interested in that kind of content, please be sure to click the subscribe button and turn all notifications on. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my study routine that made me a top achiever in high school. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me a lot about how many hours I was studying a day, how many hours I was sleeping a day, and finally I get to share that with you today. So this study routine helped me increase my productivity, and it helped me stay consistent when it comes to studying and actually doing my work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you my study routine that I was using, especially the one in matric, and I am going to be giving you tips on how I developed that study routine so that you can make one that will work for you to increase your productivity and stay consistent when it comes to your studies and stop procrastination. So the first thing you want to do is set a daily routine. In your daily routine, you will include academic and non-academic activities. So what you have to do is set time for everything that you want to do, set duration of how long you want to be doing that activity, and make sure that you account for each and every hour in your day. It doesn't matter whether you'll be resting, watching TV, eating, or showering. Make sure that you write it on your daily schedule. And what you want to do is do things at a specific time every day. As you can see on my timetable, number one, I included all my academic and non-academic activities. You can see my school hours, time I decide to study, time I decide to eat and watch TV, and the time I'm sleeping and the time I am showering. I included times where I take breaks as well. So as you can see, from 7 to 7, every hour is assigned to something. I chose a time when I'll be able to do the activity every day at the same time. So my sleeping time was almost around the same time. The time I eat or shower was always around the same time. And that helped me develop a habit, because a routine is a habit that you develop over time for doing a specific thing. So let's get into how to actually set a study routine. There are 3 things that you need to consider when setting a study routine. Number 1, when is your brain most active? Other people's brains are most active early in the morning or late at night or during the day. For me, my brain is most active between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That is when I find myself the most productive. So the first thing you have to do is know yourself. When is the time when you are able to do your work and be productive? And for me personally, because it was between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., it was very unfortunate because I couldn't use all of that time to study by myself because I had classes between 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I had to pick my study time outside school hours. Either it is after school, in the evening, or at night. The third thing to consider is your study duration. Set how long you want to study a day. While I was in matric, my study time goal per day was 8 hours. So now I actually had to decide when exactly am I going to study. So as I've said that my brain is active between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and already most of that time was taken by my school hours. the first thing that I did is study after school. That is the time that I used to summarize all the notes that I couldn't finish during my school hours, revise all of my work that I've been doing throughout the day, and number 3, make time to start my assignments and homeworks. So what I would do after school is I would find an empty classroom where I can study, or I would go to the library. And as you can see on my schedule, there is like a 20 minutes break between when my class ends and when I actually go to the library. So now as you can see that I have activities to do outside studying, which is showering, eating, and all of that. As you can see on my daily routine, I do not have time reserved for chores because fortunately for me, I had a mother who was very supportive and did all the chores for me when it comes to washing my uniform, cooking, and all of that, because she wanted me to use all the time I had for studying. So I set an hour and 30 minutes to actually rest, bond with my family, take a shower, and I was doing that from 5 to 6:30 every day. And the second activity is TV and dinner. So when I got to grade 12, I had to decide which TV show I would like to watch. And I had to pick one. Nobody forced me to do that. I myself had to be disciplined. When I got to matric, I realized that something had to change. So what I did is I picked one TV show to watch, and during that time it was Skim Sam. So what I did was I aligned my TV time with my dinner time. So every time I was watching TV, it was because I was eating, and it was for that 30 minutes. I never watched TV outside that time. Any time of the day, my duration to watch TV was 30 minutes. And let me explain to you why I was so strict about my time. The first thing, as I told you, is I decided that I want to study 8 hours a day. And for me to be able to do that, I had to limit time I spent on other unnecessary stuff or other activities. And because the time that I set, which is 8 hours, it was unchanging. So I knew that if I was going to spend more time on TV than I was supposed to, I was going to be using up my sleeping time. Because as you've heard me speak, you've never heard me saying that I decided to sleep 8 hours a day. Guys, one thing I want to say is balancing life, especially in matric, is an illusion. There is no way you can be sleeping 8 hours a day, going to school for 8 hours, and then having time for friends and family, social media for a whole another 8 hours, and then on top of that do your studying, do your assignments, and doing your homeworks. It is highly impossible. There is something that you should be willing to sacrifice in order for you to achieve your goals. I had to sacrifice my time that I spent on TV. During that time, I did not have any social media, and that absolutely made things easier for me. So if I decided to watch TV for 4 hours, and for that day I was supposed to sleep for 6 hours, it means now I'll be sleeping for how many hours? 3. So because of that reason, I was able to be disciplined that if I ever spend more time than the time I have assigned on this activity, it affects my sleeping time, never my studying time. And one thing that I need to tell you is do not ever compromise your studying time. If you were irresponsible with your time by spending your time or hours on something else outside studying, don't you ever say, okay, now instead of studying 8 hours, I'll be studying 4 because I wanna always sleep and rest for my 6 hours or my 8 hours. If you prioritize sleeping or you value resting that much, then why would you be irresponsible when it comes to spending your time? Why would you spend time on unnecessary stuff? So what I had to do is to actually discipline myself when it comes to the time I spend on other activities, because I knew that if I actually spend time on useless stuff, it's gonna come back to me, because now I'm gonna be sleeping less than I planned to. So as you can see, directly after I ate my dinner or watched TV, I would go to sleep at 7 to midnight, which is like 5 hours. I always value taking a nap before doing my work because it makes me feel like I am actually starting a new day again. So then I would wake up at midnight and actually study till the morning, till I go to class. I know this sounds so crazy, but to actually think that that is what I was doing in high school, I still don't believe how I did it, because now I can barely do that. But for me, that is how I managed to fit in my 8 hours. So for some days, it would happen that after school, I am actually so exhausted, I can't go to the library. So what I would do is I would go straight home. And when I got home, I would decide to take a nap till 5. And remember, 5 is my time to rest and take a shower. So I respected that time every time. So obviously now that I have taken a nap immediately after school, I will not go back and sleep again from 7 to midnight. I had to make changes a bit when it comes to my studying time and my sleeping time. And now, because I took time to sleep instead of studying, what I will do is that I will replace that time later on, which is my other important point. It is called trade time. If unexpected events happen during the time you have set to study, instead of you canceling your study session completely, reschedule it to another time when you're gonna be available. So because now I took my studying time to actually take a nap, which means that I will sleep less at night and I will account for that time later that night. So if I was supposed to sleep 6 hours that day and I took a 3-hour nap after school, it means at night I am left with 3 hours. Exactly. There was no negotiations whatsoever. Which gets me to my next point of flexibility. Be flexible when it comes to studying. Do not ever force yourself to study when you feel tired, because every day is different. Some days you're gonna feel energetic, some days you're gonna feel tired. Make sure that if you feel tired, take a nap now, study later. So now you might be asking, when did I then get time to do my homeworks and assignment? And this leads me to my next point. Utilize all the odd hours you have during your day. I am talking about your free periods, your break time. So every time during a free period, I didn't sit around and play or laugh with everyone. I took out my books and actually did some work. I would write down all the topics that I would want to cover for tonight. I would summarize my notes from the previous class that I had. I would pre-read for my next class. I wanted to make sure that when it comes to my studying time, which is 8 hours, none of that time is for homework, because I didn't want to spend time on homework for 4 hours and actually realize that I'm actually studying 4 hours a day. So I made sure that I do my homeworks and assignments outside of my studying time. And obviously sometimes if it gets a bit more, I have a big assignment going on, I wouldn't necessarily be able to study for a whole 8 hours, because I would have to take that assignment and do it at home. But because my aim was 8 hours a day, when I fail, I would fail at 5, I would fail at 4, I would fail at 6. So it is important for you to set a duration of how long you want to study, because if you do not, you would literally study 2 hours a day and feel like it's enough. You would study 4 hours a day and you feel like, oh my god, I did way beyond. Coming to the next point. In order for something to be a routine, we all know that you have to be consistent when doing it. And I definitely know and understand high school can be so tiring, especially in matric, and you can be so tired from studying from day to day. Which leads me to my next point. How was I able to stay consistent when it comes to studying? Besides having self-discipline and actually adapting to the habit and routine of me studying every day, I had what it's called an accountability partner. This is something I highly advise people to do. If you can see someone that is dedicated when it comes to the schoolwork and they are always working, and you feel like sometimes you are not motivated, you need someone to motivate you, partner up with that person. You don't really have to be studying together, but at least let them remind you or encourage you to study. Coming to the last point, this is one thing that I think really helped me in terms of actually studying and getting my work done and being ahead when it comes to my schoolwork. I studied during weekends. I know a lot of people think weekends is just for resting, holidays are for resting. I made sure that I utilized that time to the maximum. I was so much happy when it comes to a weekend because I knew that is when I'll be able to study during the time when my brain is active and actually exceed that time even. So I highly advise you to study during the days when you do not have any activities going on. Set a day for studying. A day where there are absolutely no other activities going on that day, and you only reserve it to study. And when you have that day, start it as early as possible. I find starting my day early very productive than starting it very late. So if you have a free day, it's a weekend, wake up at 6 or wake up at 5 or during the time you would wake up when you go to school, and actually sit down and study. Treat your weekends like it is your school day, especially if you're in matric. So developing a habit is not easy. Don't be hard on yourself. If a certain routine didn't work for you, try changing it up and making it something that is better and something that you can follow. And as I've said, make sure that you plan your day before you start. We all know that failing to plan is planning to fail. So always plan your day ahead. I know I've said a lot in this video. I hope that you've learned a thing or two from it. If you have any questions, please type them down in the comments below. I'll be very happy to answer. And that is it from me for today. I'll see you again on another video. Bye.